There are roughly 45,000 miles of interstate highway in the United States. They were built to connect cities, to move freight, to let people cross the country faster than they ever had before. They also created corridors, long, unmonitored stretches of road where a person could disappear and where a body could be left, with almost no chance of a witness. Between 1978 and 1992, someone used those corridors as a hunting ground. The victims were white women, most of them young, most of them with red or reddish hair. Their bodies were found along the sides of interstates across 6 states in the American South and Mid-Atlantic. Some of them had names. Some of them didn't, not for decades. And the man who killed them was already sitting in a prison cell before anyone understood what he'd done. 1983, West Memphis, Arkansas. A woman's body was found along the highway. She was white, in her 20s or 30s, with reddish hair. She had been strangled. She had no identification. No one reported her missing. No one came forward to name her. She remains unidentified to this day. She was not the first. Investigators would later believe the killings started as far back as 1978. But she was the first body that would eventually be connected to a wider pattern. The first in a chain that stretched across thousands of miles of American road. Local police investigated, found nothing. The case went cold, and the killer moved on. Over the next several years, more bodies appeared. Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas, Mississippi, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, all along the major interstates, I-40, I-75, I-65, I-81. The arteries of American freight, all white women, all with red or reddish hair, all strangled or suffocated, all found discarded at the roadside as though they were something to be thrown out of a window. By the mid-1980s, the FBI had noticed. They opened a task force. They called the cases the Redhead Murders. The press latched on to another name, the Bible Belt Strangler. But the women kept appearing, and the highway gave up nothing. Investigators suspected a long-haul trucker, someone whose roots explained the geography, whose work gave him access to women in vulnerable situations, whose cab was a private mobile crime scene that left no trace. They were right. They just couldn't prove it yet. 5 of the victims have now been identified: Lisa Nichols, Michelle Inman, Tina McKinney Farmer, Elizabeth Lamotte, Tracy Sue Walker. Tracy Walker was 15 years old when she disappeared from Lafayette, Indiana. Her skeletal remains were found in Tennessee in 1985, just yards from where another victim had been recovered. She was not identified for 37 years. Forensic genealogy finally gave her name back to her family in 2022. Tina Farmer's remains were found on New Year's Day, 1985, along Interstate 75 in Campbell County, Tennessee. She went unidentified for over 30 years. A fingerprint card from the early 1980s eventually matched her, and when investigators tested DNA from the crime scene, they found something: semen and a profile. That profile sat in a database, and it waited. At least one victim, the woman found in West Memphis in 1983, still has no name. March 1985. Nashville, Tennessee. A woman named Linda Shack was working at a bar when a customer approached her. He was a long-haul trucker. His name was Jerry Leon Johns. He offered her money. She got into his vehicle. He pulled a gun. Johns drove her to a remote stretch off Interstate 40, forced her out of the truck, and dragged her down beneath the highway. He bound her with fabric torn from her own clothing. Then he wrapped a strip of her t-shirt around her throat and pulled. He left her unconscious in a storm drain. What saved her life was a fraction of an inch. The corner of her jacket had caught between the ligature and her neck, just enough to keep a sliver of blood flow reaching her brain. Just enough. A passing truck driver found her. She survived. She went to police. She named Jerry Leon Johns. He was charged, convicted of aggravated kidnapping and assault, sentenced to prison. For over 30 years, Linda protected her privacy so fiercely that even court records referred to her only as Tasha. She gave her first public interview in 2023 to a podcast run by a class of high school students. Jerry Leon Johns went to prison in 1987. He served his sentence for the attack on Linda Shack. He was convicted of aggravated kidnapping and assault. Not murder. Not the redhead murders. Not anything connected to the bodies along the interstates. Because no one had connected him yet. While Johns was incarcerated, the victims continued to be found. Cold cases accumulated. DNA profiles sat unmatched. Families waited. In 2015, Jerry Leon Johns died in prison. He was 67 years old. He never confessed to anything beyond what he'd been convicted for. He took whatever knowledge he had with him. 3 years after his death, investigators finally ran the DNA from Tina Farmer's crime scene through the database. It matched Jerry Leon Johns. In 2018, a sociology teacher at Elizabethton High School in Tennessee named Alex Campbell gave his class an unusual assignment: the redhead murders. Solve it. 20 students spent a semester doing what professional investigators had struggled to do for decades. They read case files, consulted law enforcement, tracked trucking routes, built timelines. They identified the geographic corridors the killer used. They connected the dots between victims who had never officially been linked. They named Jerry Leon Johns as the Bible Belt Strangler. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation agreed with their conclusion. Their work was documented in a podcast, also called Murder 101, and later in an Amazon Prime docuseries. It brought a case that had been almost entirely forgotten back into public view. It also found Linda Shack, who finally spoke, who finally told the world what had happened to her under that highway 38 years earlier. Jerry Johns is confirmed to have killed at least one woman, Tina Farmer. Investigators and the high school students believe he killed at least 6, possibly 14, possibly more. But here is what remains unresolved. The redhead murders span 14 years and 6 states. Investigators are not certain that Jerry Leon Johns committed every killing attributed to the case. Some criminologists believe there may have been 2 killers, or more, working the same routes, hunting the same type of woman, which means there may be another name, another truck, another man who drove the interstates and left women by the roadside. That person, if they exist, has never been identified, has never been charged, may still be alive. And at least one victim found in 1983 in West Memphis still has no name. Her family, if she has one, does not know what happened to her. Lisa Nichols, Michelle Inman, Tina McKinney Farmer, Elizabeth Lamont, Tracy Sue Walker, and one woman found in 1983 who still has no name. They were left on the roadside, in the dark, along highways that millions of people drive every day without knowing. It took a group of teenagers in a classroom in Tennessee to do what a federal task force could not. To look at these women, put their names back on them, and say, this is what happened and this is who did it. Jerry Leon Johns is dead. He was never charged for the murders. He was never made to answer for them in court. Whatever he knew, and whatever the full count of what he did, died with him in 2015. The highway doesn't give up its secrets easily, but some of them finally are coming to light. Are